Right, so I've just finished playing Dordogne, and now it's time for my review. So this is a small little indie game coming out of a French studio, being published by Focus Entertainment, who is a indie to AA studio. I quite like a lot of the eclectic stuff that they cover. Dordogne focuses around the main protagonist, Mimi, after finding out that her estranged grandmother has passed away, heads back to Nana's house to sort out some of her affairs, and this is all wonderfully told through a split gameplay setting of current Mimi and Mimi when she was 12 years old, spending a summer staying with her nan. The first thing that you might notice about this game is its art style. It's very unique. It has this watercolor type look, and it's very beautiful, and it fits really well with this French summer setting, coupled with a really memorable, warm soundtrack, and you have something that aesthetically and artistically is incredibly cohesive and immersive. The game is only a couple of hours long. You can get through it in one sitting, and I believe it's coming onto Game Pass day one as well. I'll get into the finer details, but I think this is a wonderful, wholesome, moving little experience and the perfect palate cleanser, especially if you're someone that doesn't necessarily go in for these sort of games. When I did start it out, it threw a few red flags at me, namely that Mimi is a 30s something, daddy issues. You can check her phone for messages. She's been sacked for reasons unexplained, and half her messages are from her shrink. So within the first 15 minutes, alarm bells were going off. No, Scarlett doesn't want to play this. However, and this is a very important point to be made, this is not a Western developer. It's a French one. And where at first I saw the usual tired, modern writing technique from Western studios, both indie and AAA alike, where they self-insert and they make it about their own personal problems and force you to play through it. This was just setup that honestly doesn't really get called back to again throughout the course of the game. So I think that's a really important point to lay out early, is that if you are someone like me that has been conditioned to knee-jerk to the same boring tropes coming out of a lot of Western writing spaces, then trust me, persevere with this one. It'll restore your hope in the ability for modern game writers to actually write, or at least the ones coming out of France. So the setup is that modern Mimi is at a bit of a crossroads. As previously mentioned, life's not really going her way, and she has some issues with her dad, some headbutting, and it seems a core of this is that dad in turn has become estranged from Nana. So her dad and her grandma have some sort of interpersonal issue. You haven't spoken to your Nana since you were 12, and now she's gone. So Mimi heads back to her grandparents' house to get it in order before the removalists come through at the end of the week. From here, you kind of just potter around the house, interacting with objects that will in turn trigger memory flashbacks to when you were 12 and you were sent to stay with Nan by your parents. And from there, the adventure and the mystery begins. Gameplay is light, however, there is a charm and enough here to keep you engaged. All the little tasks that you do with Nan, from outside in the gardening to cooking up potatoes in the kitchen, come with these tiny little couple of seconds interactive mini games where you pick up the duck fat and put that in the pan, or you dig up the soil, you pick which plant that you want to put in and water it. And all these little one-off couple of second interactions are enough to keep things moving forward and keep you engaged in this wholesome summer narrative. You'll go to the local market, you'll make a new friend, you'll head down the river Dordogne in a kayak, go on picnics, all the while experiencing Mimi's character growth as a young, bratty 12-year-old that has no interest in staying with boring old Nana and missing her friends, all the way up to losing herself in her summer adventure. The other part of the gameplay mechanic has you exploring the world, and then you will find words that are sort of evoking Mimi's inner feelings and thought process. The front end of the game will be loaded with sad or misses my friends or I don't like Nana, that sort of thing. And you choose often the word that you feel fits at the time, and by selecting it, it will go into a bank for the end of the day where you construct that day's entry into a collage book gifted to you by your nan. From this, you'll construct a simple little poem from the words collected throughout the course of the day. For example, maybe you chose angry. Well, angry will be in the list. When you click on it, it will give you 3 little one-shot lines like I'm angry today or anger makes my soul sad, something like that. And you pick that and you do this 3 times again. So you end up with this 3-line poem constructed from the general feel of how Mimi's gone through that part of her story. It's not exactly the deepest mechanic, but it is fairly original and it's complementary to what's going on here, which is a story of coming to terms with the environment you're in and making the most of it. You'll also get other gadgets along the way, like an old Polaroid camera or a sound recorder. You'll be able to take little photos that you can add into your little collage book. You will collect stickers and stamps in the environment and put them into your page, and by the end of it, I'm not ashamed to say I kind of got involved in making my cute little child art project at the close of day. There is actually a surprisingly high stakes story that runs through this by the end, that at the halfway point started giving me some early 90s Macaulay Culkin vibes. If you know, you know. With a finale that you would have to be a heartless stone of a person to not have it move you to some sort of emotion. It's also worth noting that there are certain narrative threads, and I don't want to spoil them, peripheral to the story, but that support the story. Some of the background with your grandfather that you get from snippets of little letters with the neighbours, for example, that never go beyond that. The game adds flavour and gives you hints of a wider world, but respects you enough not to just beat you over the head with a neatly wrapped bow on the story. And that, to me personally, is the biggest takeaway from this whole game, is that I wish I played it 10 years ago before I had been conditioned to just have such low faith in modern gaming writing and story construction. So it is my hope that this review gets to the right person, and by the right person I mean you, the person that probably would sleep on this, that probably wouldn't play one of these games because you've probably been burnt by too many unsubtle, weak writing attempts that do seem to flood the story-heavy and gameplay-light space of modern gaming. So yeah, Dordogne, wonderful. A palate cleanser at the least, and something that will probably stick with you for years to come. Clear a few hours in an afternoon and sit down and allow yourself to sink into it, and I very much doubt you will regret the time spent doing such. So that's my review for Dordogne. We're getting into a little bit of a rhythm now as well. I'm enjoying the pivot to reviews. I hope you guys are too. If you're new here, the like, subscribe, all that sort of stuff would be helpful. I'm always looking to get more members on the channel, but most importantly, dropping a comment and letting me know your feedback is what I truly enjoy the most. It's always great to hear not only if the review was actually helpful to you, but also the inverse. If you feel that there's some areas that I can improve, or perhaps maybe I missed the mark, make sure you do let me know. It's the only way that I will grow doing this. Thanks again for watching, and I will catch you on the next one.